In May 1945, along the docks at Kiel, Flensburg, and Bremerhaven, German naval crews stood in stunned silence as Allied officers walked toward the sleek grey hulls of the Kriegsmarine's most feared small warships. The British called them E-boats, for enemy. The Germans called them Schnellboote, fast boats, or simply S-boats. Wooden-hulled, powered by 3 Daimler-Benz diesels, capable of 40 knots or more, these vessels had spent the war tearing through the Channel and the North Sea, torpedoing convoys and vanishing into the dark before destroyers could respond. Now the war was over, and hundreds of these boats sat idle in captured harbors, their crews disarmed, their fate entirely in the hands of the men who had just defeated them. The war was over, but a new mystery was just beginning. What really happened to these boats after the guns fell silent? The scale of the S-boat program had been enormous. Germany built roughly 240 of these craft across the war, in classes like the S-26, S-38, S-100, and S-151, each iteration faster and better armed than the last. Their wooden hulls let them cross magnetic minefields untouched, and their range of around 700 nautical miles made them far more capable than the American PT boat or the British motor torpedo boat. By the time Germany surrendered, the survivors were scattered across occupied Europe, in Dutch ports, in Norwegian fjords, in the harbors of northern Germany, seized wherever Allied forces happened to find them. The question of what to do with 200 fast, dangerous, and strategically obsolete warships fell to 4 different occupying powers, each with different priorities and very different appetites for keeping them running. The immediate aftermath was chaotic and improvised. Boats surrendered at Rotterdam on May 4, 1945, were parceled out almost at random. The United States Navy took the largest share for evaluation and disposal. Britain claimed a significant number for its own testing programs. The Soviets took what fell into their zone. And Denmark, whose own navy had been reduced to almost nothing by 5 years of occupation, found itself with a single wrecked hull, S-116, sitting in its own waters before the ink on the surrender documents was even dry. Picture the scene at a place like Bremerhaven in these early months, rows of grey hulls tied up gunwale to gunwale, engines silent, fuel tanks drained, crews marched off under guard, while Allied technical officers walked the decks with clipboards, deciding which boats were worth anything and which were simply scrap. Many were not worth the trouble. Engines were cannibalized for parts, hulls were left to rot at their moorings, and some were simply sunk or broken up where they sat, victims of a peace that had no use for them. For most of the fleet, the story ended there, in scrap yards and breakers' yards across occupied Germany, hulls reduced to timber and scrap metal within a few years of the surrender. But a small number of these boats were about to have a very different second life, and the story of how that happened begins with a nearly bankrupt Danish navy trying to rebuild itself from almost nothing. Denmark had entered the war neutral, only to be overrun in a single day in April 1940. Its navy scuttled much of its own fleet in Copenhagen Harbour in 1943 rather than let the Germans seize it intact. And by the time liberation came in May 1945, the Royal Danish Navy possessed almost nothing capable of real combat: a single elderly torpedo boat that had escaped to Sweden, a handful of small coastal minesweepers, and a scattering of patrol launchers armed with little more than machine guns. Denmark desperately wanted fast torpedo boats back in its arsenal, and post-war Germany happened to be sitting on a surplus of exactly that kind of vessel. Beginning in early 1947, the American Occupation Authority in Germany, OMGUS, authorized the sale of 10 worn-out S-boats gathered at Bremerhaven for $80,000, torpedoes and spare parts included. Copenhagen kept negotiating for more. 4 additional boats arrived from American stores in 1948, and 4 more from British stores that same year. Then, in 1951, Denmark struck a deal with neighboring Norway, which had been quietly running 6 former S-boats of its own in coastal service since the end of the war, and bought all 6 outright. By the time the dust settled, Denmark had acquired no fewer than 22 former Kriegsmarine S-boats. 18 of them were eventually restored to working order, repainted, rearmed, and commissioned into active Danish naval service under the collective name Glenton class, Danish for kite. The first of them, formerly the incomplete Kriegsmarine Hull S-306, entered Danish service in July 1947 as the Glenton, giving its name to the whole class. Others followed steadily over the next 8 years: the Gribben, formerly S-107, in 1948, the Havørnen, formerly S-216, later that same year, the Herfuglen, the Høgen, the Isfuglen, the Jagdfalken, each one a rebuilt German war machine now flying the Danish flag, each one renamed after a bird of prey, a deliberate echo of the predatory speed these boats had once represented for the enemy they were built to fight. This is where the story splits into 3 distinct paths, because not every captured S-boat met the same fate. The overwhelming majority, well over 200 boats across all the Allied zones, were simply broken up. Picture yards in occupied Germany, where these once feared attack craft were stripped of anything useful, their wooden hulls burned or left to collapse into the mud, their engines pulled for spare parts or melted down entirely. Wood does not scrap the way steel does. It rots, it splinters, it simply disappears from the historical record without leaving the dramatic photographs that steel warships leave behind when they are cut apart. This is one reason so few people today know what happened to the S-boat fleet at all. There was no single dramatic scrapping event, no fleet of hulks lined up for demolition cameras. They simply rotted away in quiet corners of occupied Europe, one by one, largely undocumented. A much smaller number were repurposed, and this is where Denmark and Norway's story becomes genuinely unusual. Norway had taken possession of several S-boats directly after the surrender and put them into coastal patrol service almost immediately, giving them Norwegian names like Lyn, Storm, Tross, Gjek, Blink, and Brand. The Norwegian words for lightning, storm, and similar forces of nature, entirely fitting for boats that could still touch nearly 40 knots, even in their worn post-war condition. These 6 boats spent roughly 6 years patrolling Norwegian coastal waters before being sold onward to Denmark in 1951, at which point they were folded into the growing Glenton class alongside the boats Denmark had already been acquiring from American and British stores. Other captured S-boats were not so lucky in their new owners. A handful ended up sold to private buyers in the years after the war, stripped of weapons and repurposed as civilian motor yachts or workboats, their torpedo tubes plated over, their military grey paint replaced with whatever a private owner could afford. At least one former S-boat, S-67, was purchased privately after the war, and later resold to the Italian Navy in 1951, commissioned the following year as a patrol vessel and modernized with radar and new guns at the naval arsenal in La Spezia, a strange final chapter for a boat that had begun its life-hunting Allied shipping in the English Channel. And then there is the rarest fate of all, outright survival into the present day, and only one boat in the entire 200-plus fleet managed it. S-130, a late-war S-boat of the fast S-100 type, escaped the scrapyards entirely and passed through private ownership in the decades after the war, eventually surfacing in German hands at Wilhelmshaven at the turn of the millennium. In January 2003, a British preservation group, the Military Powerboat Trust, purchased the hull and towed it across the North Sea to a shipyard near Southampton, England, the same waters this class of boat had once been built to attack. It has spent the years since moving between yards in Plymouth, undergoing careful restoration, the last physical S-boat left on Earth out of the roughly 240 that were ever built. None of Denmark's 18 Glenton-class boats survive today. Every single one of the vessels that gave Denmark back its navy in the late 1940s and early 1950s was eventually scrapped, and not one hull remains anywhere in the world. There are details buried in this story that most people, even naval history enthusiasts, have never heard, and they are worth pulling out on their own. The first is simply how long these boats stayed in frontline service. By late 1954, nearly a full decade after the war ended, Denmark had 15 former Kriegsmarine S-boats simultaneously in active commission, still running German Daimler-Benz diesel engines, still firing German-designed torpedo tubes, still crewed by young Danish sailors who had likely been children when these same boats were hunting Allied convoys under a different flag. The Danish Navy did not treat this as an embarrassment. A 1951 Royal Danish Navy recruiting poster proudly featured one of the Glenton-class boats in the foreground, using the former enemy's fastest weapon as a symbol to attract new officer candidates into Danish service. The second detail concerns just how mixed and improvised the fleet actually was by the time it reached full strength. These were not 18 identical sister ships. They came from at least 4 different German subclasses: the S-26, the S-38, the S-100, and the S-151 types, each with different engines, different hull lengths, and different maximum speeds, because Denmark simply bought whatever hulls happened to be available from whichever Allied stockpile would sell them. Danish engineers spent years quietly standardizing the fleet, refitting engines, swapping armament, until by 1955 most of the boats carried a common configuration of a 40mm Bofors gun aft and a 20mm cannon forward, alongside American surplus equipment like M1 Garand rifles for the gangway sentries and American steel helmets for the crews, an odd hybrid of German hulls, Swedish guns, and American infantry gear all serving together under the Danish flag. The third detail is perhaps the strangest of all. One of the boats Denmark acquired, S-116, had actually been sitting in Danish hands since 1945, essentially the moment the war ended, well before any formal purchase agreement with the Americans or British was ever signed. Denmark did not wait for permission to start rebuilding its navy around captured German technology. It simply held on to what had washed up on its own shores and quietly began the process of turning a former enemy weapon into the foundation of its post-war fleet, years before the Allied occupation authorities had even finished sorting out what to do with the rest of the captured S-boat inventory. The Danish Glenton class did not run forever. Speed was the entire point of these vessels, and speed does not age gracefully. The earliest boats, fitted with smaller and less powerful diesel engines, were the first to go, withdrawn from service in November 1954 as newer purpose-built Danish torpedo boats began entering the fleet. Denmark had learned enough from operating these captured German hulls that it started building its own near-identical replacements domestically, the Flyverfisken and Falcon classes, essentially Danish-built evolutions of the same Lürsen-designed hull that Germany had perfected during the war. By 1960, only 11 of the original Glenton-class boats remained in commission. The last one standing, Weiben, formerly the Kriegsmarine S-68, was finally withdrawn from active service in September 1965, closing out a full 20 years in which the Danish Navy had operated captured enemy warships as the backbone of its own fast attack fleet, longer than many navies keep even their own purpose-built vessels in service. Where are these boats today? For Denmark's 18 Glenton-class vessels, the honest answer is nowhere. Every single one was eventually scrapped as it aged out of service, and unlike larger warships, wooden-hulled torpedo boats rarely survive long once they are decommissioned. There was no museum campaign, no preservation society waiting to save a Glenton-class hull, and the boats simply disappeared into breakers' yards across Denmark through the 1960s and beyond. What does survive is the documentation. Detailed Danish naval archives, photographs from Aarhus Harbour showing the boats moored in neat rows, and recruiting posters that once used these former enemy vessels to sell young Danes on a career at sea. For Norway's 6 boats, sold onward to Denmark in 1951, the fate is identical, folded into the Glenton class and scrapped along with the rest. The one true survivor from the entire European S-boat story is not Danish or Norwegian at all. It is S-130, the boat rescued from Wilhelmshaven in 2003 and slowly restored in English shipyards, the last physical link to a fleet that once numbered in the hundreds. Everything else, every hull that fought in the English Channel, every hull that patrolled the fjords of occupied Norway, every hull that Denmark rebuilt its post-war navy around, has been reduced to steel scrap, rotted timber, or archival photographs. What remains is not the machines themselves, but the strange, largely forgotten fact that for 20 years after the Second World War ended, the fastest warships in the Danish and Norwegian navies were the very same vessels that had once been built to sink their ships. These boats symbolize something larger than their own service records, how quickly the tools of one war become the necessities of the peace that follows, and how easily that story disappears once the last hull is finally cut apart for scrap.